I was 26 when this happened, working as a junior claims analyst for an insurance company. It was one of those jobs where nothing dramatic ever happened. Spreadsheets, recorded calls, polite emails with people you'd never meet. I've always been pretty cautious by nature, not paranoid, just aware. Lock the door, check the stove, don't take shortcuts at night. That kind of person. This took place in late October, a few years ago, in a mid-sized city where the highways loop around like loose knots and the suburbs all blur together. I was living alone in a small apartment complex on the edge of town, the kind with shared parking, flickering streetlights, and no security cameras that actually worked. That night started completely normal. It was a Thursday. I stayed late at the office finishing a backlog of claims because my supervisor had taken Friday off. I remember being mildly annoyed about it, mostly because it meant I'd missed dinner with my sister. Nothing about the day felt important. No bad omens, no weird dreams, just another long work day. I left the office around 9:30 p.m. The air was cold enough to sting a little, and my car, an older grey sedan with a sticky passenger door, was parked under a dying tree at the far end of the lot. I remember fumbling with my keys, thinking about what leftovers I had at home, and absolutely nothing else. If I'd known what that drive home would turn into, I would have stayed at my desk all night. The drive home usually took about 20 minutes. I followed the same route every day. Out of the business park, onto the main road, then a long stretch of highway before cutting through a quieter residential area. It was muscle memory by that point. I stopped at a gas station a few minutes from the office to grab a coffee because I still felt wired from work. The place was mostly empty, one car at the pump, a bored-looking cashier scrolling on his phone. I paid, nodded at him, and went back out to my car. I remember noticing how quiet everything felt. No music playing, no one talking, just the hum of the lights above the pumps. Back on the road, I turned the radio on low. Some late-night talk show was playing, voices murmuring in the background. The highway was mostly clear. A few headlights passed in the opposite direction, but otherwise, it felt like I had the road to myself. About 10 minutes in, I became aware of a dark SUV behind me. I didn't think anything of it at first. Cars come and go. It stayed a consistent distance back, never passing, even when I slowed slightly. I chalked it up to coincidence. I exited the highway and drove through a stretch of quiet neighborhoods. Small houses, parked cars lining the street, porch lights glowing softly. The SUV followed. Again, I didn't panic. It was the most direct route into town. I remember yawning, adjusting my seatbelt, and thinking about how tired I'd be the next morning. Everything felt normal, boring even. That's what still messes with me the most. There was no reason to be afraid yet. The first real moment of discomfort came when I missed my turn. It was a left onto a narrow side street that led straight to my apartment complex. I'd taken it hundreds of times. But that night, I was distracted, thinking about work, about whether I should shower or just collapse into bed, and I drove right past it. I noticed immediately and muttered something under my breath, checking my rearview mirror as I slowed to make a U-turn further down. The SUV was still there. When I turned around, so did it. That's when the thought crossed my mind, just briefly. That's weird. I told myself not to overreact. It was late. People drove home from work all the time. Still, I decided not to go straight back to my apartment. Instead, I kept driving, turning down another street that looped through the neighborhood. The SUV followed. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. I tested it, made a slow right turn, then another quick left. The SUV mimicked me perfectly, never getting too close, never falling back. I remember my heartbeat starting to feel loud in my ears. The radio voices faded into background noise. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe they live around here. Maybe they're just as lost as you. At a stop sign, I hesitated longer than necessary. The SUV stopped behind me. Its headlights filled my car, washing the interior in white light. I couldn't see the driver, just a dark shape behind the wheel. I pulled forward again, my mouth dry now, a cold knot forming in my stomach. That's when I locked the doors. I stopped trying to convince myself it was nothing. Instead of heading home, I aimed for a busier road. My plan, if you could call it that, was to get somewhere public, a gas station, a fast food place, anywhere with lights and people. The SUV stayed with me. At one point it closed the distance, riding so close behind that I could barely see its headlights anymore, just the reflection of its grille in my rearview mirror. I sped up. So did it. I slowed. It matched me again. My breathing turned shallow. I could feel adrenaline buzzing under my skin, making my fingers tingle. I heard a sound, knuckles tapping lightly on glass. Tap, tap, tap. My heart slammed so hard it made me dizzy. The light felt like it took forever to change. When it finally did, I hit the gas harder than I meant to, my tires squealing slightly as I took off. The SUV didn't follow immediately. For half a second I thought I'd lost them. Then I saw it in my mirror, accelerating fast, closing the gap like it had been waiting for me to relax. I grabbed my phone and called my sister. It rang, once, twice. She didn't answer. When I turned onto a main road, relief surged through me. There were other cars now, not many, but enough to make me feel less alone. Then the SUV pulled up beside me. I kept my eyes forward, pretending not to notice. From the corner of my vision, I saw the driver's window roll down slightly. Just enough. I didn't look. I couldn't. At the next light, it turned red. I stopped. The SUV stopped next to me again. I turned into a grocery store parking lot without signaling, barely slowing down. The place was almost empty at that hour, just a few cars scattered near the entrance. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows on the pavement. I parked crooked across two spaces and stayed inside my car, hands shaking. The SUV rolled in after me and stopped directly behind my bumper, blocking me in. The engine stayed running. For a moment, nothing happened. I sat there, frozen, my phone clutched in my hand. I thought about calling the police, but my brain felt sluggish, like it couldn't catch up to what was happening. Then the driver's door of the SUV opened. A man stepped out, mid-30s maybe, baseball cap pulled low. He walked slowly toward my car, hands visible like he was trying not to scare me. "Hey," he said, voice calm. Too calm. "You dropped something back there." I didn't roll my window down. I shook my head instead, small and quick. "I think you've got the wrong person," I said. My voice cracked embarrassingly. He smiled just a little. "Just open the door. It'll take a second." That's when he reached for my passenger side handle. The door didn't open. It stuck, like it always did. But the sound of him trying made something snap in me. I started screaming. Not words, just noise. Loud, raw, uncontrollable. His expression changed instantly. The smile vanished. He stepped back, hands raised again. "Relax," he said sharply. Jesus. I slammed my car into reverse, ramming his SUV hard enough to jolt my spine. Then I swerved around it and tore out of the lot, my tires screaming again, my chest burning like I couldn't get enough air. I drove straight to the police station. I don't remember most of the drive, just streetlights blurring past and my hands hurting from gripping the wheel too tightly. The officer who took my report listened, nodded, typed. He asked if the man had touched me, if he'd said anything threatening. When I said no, his interest dimmed slightly. Could have been a misunderstanding, he said. Road rage, maybe. They didn't find the SUV. No cameras in the grocery store lot were working that night. I went home eventually, but I didn't sleep. Every sound made me flinch. I checked my locks over and over, convinced I'd hear a knock at the door. For weeks after, I took different routes everywhere. I avoided driving at night when I could. I sold that car 3 months later. I told people the story like it was almost funny, like it hadn't scared me as badly as it did. That was a lie. It's been years now. I still think about him sometimes, how calm he was, how easily his face changed when I screamed. I never found out what he wanted. Every once in a while, when I'm stopped at a red light late at night, I'll catch myself checking my mirrors a little too carefully. And if a car stays behind me for too long, I don't wait to find out why anymore.